Sports rivalries are incredibly common, but when they're extra fierce, that's when things get interesting. The more competition you have, the more uncertainty you have, the better your sport is going to be, and the more fans are going to like it. And motorsports is no exception, especially Formula One, which has a long history of incredibly intense and dramatic rivalries. And while this rivalry may not be the most intense in F1 history, it's definitely the most personal, because this is the story of friends turned foes in the Hamilton-Rosberg rivalry. Despite current sentiments, Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton genuinely grew up as close friends despite living drastically different lives. Nico is the son of 1982 Formula One world champion Keke Rosberg, and he lived in the luxuries of Monaco. Meanwhile, Lewis grew up in Hertfordshire, and his father had to work 4 jobs just to pay for his racing career. So let's take a brief look at each of their careers separately to see how they ended up coalescing despite drastically different circumstances. Starting with the German. Rosberg left karting at 16 to enter the 2001 Formula BMW season and scored 18th overall despite only contesting 3 races. As expected based off those results, he won the next year's season and moved on to Formula 3. His win in Formula BMW also got him a test drive in the Williams FW24 as the youngest person to ever drive a Formula 1 car. By 2005, he had won the GP2 championship and was already a test driver for Williams F1, a seat that he would get in 2006 full-time. But to be honest, Williams wasn't that good in the late 2000s, which meant he was satisfied by getting 2 podiums and becoming the youngest fastest lap holder in history of the sport. The biggest thing that came out of his tenure at Williams, though, was his intellect. Williams has a driver knowledge test, and his results were the highest ever seen by the team. He constantly worked with his engineers and his mechanics to fine-tune the car for each track, similarly to Niki Lauda's tenure at McLaren. These skills got him noticed by Ross Brawn, and he signed the German to Mercedes for 2010 as Michael Schumacher's teammate. That must have been pretty intimidating, but he scored 3 podiums and beat Schumacher in the points. And then in 2012, he finally scored his first win at the Chinese Grand Prix, becoming the first German to win in a German car. But a still unreliable Mercedes retired 3 times, and he finished 9th in the standings. Now let's compare that to Hamilton. He started in the 2001 Formula Renault series before winning the 2002 season with 2 races to spare, and he used that free time to jump into the British Formula 3 Championship, which gave him a tire failure and an accident for his troubles. He nearly got an F1 drive as early as 2004, but BMW vetoed Williams' idea. Instead, he won Formula 3 and moved to GP2 in 2006, and won it first try when his rival lost the fastest lap points, which made the difference. And then, Hamilton had a stroke of good fortune. He had just won GP2, and McLaren's Formula 1 team had just lost both of their drivers. So he got the call. And unlike Rosberg, who got into Williams just as they fell off the pace, Hamilton joined McLaren right as they rebounded from years of heartbreak. His teammate was defending double world champion Fernando Alonso. Like Rosberg, a very intimidating challenger. But that didn't stop Hamilton from mounting a charge in his first ever F1 season. He had 9 podium finishes in the first 10 races, including back-to-back wins in France and Britain. Not only was he performing well, he was leading the championship by over 10 points to Alonso in second in his debut F1 season. But both Alonso and Kimi Räikkönen continued to score wins and podiums despite Hamilton's best efforts, as the 2007 season quickly became one of the greatest in the sport's history. But then, McLaren made a tire strategy error in China, and Hamilton had his only retirement of the season. This meant that Hamilton led Alonso by 4 points and Kimi by 7 points heading into the final round of the season in Brazil. And after some gearbox problems, Hamilton was relegated to 7th behind Alonso in 4th, and Raikkonen with the win, which allowed him to secure the 2007 title by 1 point over Alonso and Hamilton, who tied at 109 points apiece. Hamilton got second with the count back, and it was the closest anyone has ever come to winning the F1 championship on their first try. His 109-point season is still the most points ever scored by a rookie, even with the updated scoring system. Now, despite how much people hate them, a lack of team orders likely cost McLaren an easy driver's title, but that just made Hamilton even more determined. 2008 was another nail-biting season with an epic duel between Ferrari's Felipe Massa and Hamilton. And once again, it came down to Brazil, the final race of the season, with Hamilton 7 points ahead of Massa. And Massa looked set for a championship win after all of these years when he won in Brazil. However, it was raining, and there was one person who didn't pit: Timo Glock. And on the last corner of the last lap of the last race of the season, Hamilton's wet weather tires helped him pass Glock for 5th, taking the title by 1 point ahead of Massa's win. I'll tell you what, Hamilton got called out a lot for winning by boring margins, justifiably, I will admit, but between 2006 and 2008, all of his championship endeavors were decided by a single point. And the rest of his days in McLaren were pretty dramatic as well. 2010 and 2012 were some of the most competitive F1 seasons in history. And Hamilton always won at least one race, even during the awful 2009 season, but McLaren just lost their pace and Hamilton's trust. And with the convincing of Niki Lauda, he signed for Mercedes in 2013, which meant somehow, after all the chaos and the different series and the trials and the tribulations, Hamilton ended up not only on the same grid as his former go-kart rival Rosberg, he ended up as his teammate. Now, let's be real. Nobody had Red Bull's pace in 2013, but the recently reacquainted friends still put on a pretty good fight. Rosberg won 2 races, his experience developing the car paying dividends. But Hamilton was more consistent, scoring 1 win and 4 podiums to beat Rosberg in the standings, but things were just getting started. It was obvious that Mercedes was light years ahead of everyone else in 2014, so the question quickly became, which of the Silver Arrows would win? And at first, it was anybody's game. Rosberg started out with a 25-point lead after Hamilton retired from the season opener, and he maintained his championship lead despite Hamilton winning 4 in a row. How? Because he constantly shouted him in second place, including an epic showdown in Bahrain where team orders were not applied, and it's honestly some of the cleanest and best racing I've ever seen. And once the two of them finished 1-2, with Hamilton leading, they got out of the car and they just looked so genuinely happy, like two friends who had just came back after a brilliant wrestling match. Somehow it was both a wholesome and epic fight. But in the end, Hamilton took the championship lead in Spain, only to lose it in Monaco 1 race later when Rosberg won it. Rosberg then seemed to have everything under control, leading the championship for 8 races straight. But then Hamilton won 5 in a row starting in Hungary, and combined that with 2 non-point scoring finishes, Rosberg lost the title in the final race of the season in Abu Dhabi. But it was a season marred with controversy. Remember how I said that Bahrain was an epic showdown of wholesomeness and epicness? Well, that went away pretty quickly. Turns out Rosberg was using a prohibited engine mode to catch Hamilton in Bahrain, So Hamilton did the same thing to Rosberg in Spain. Then Rosberg ran into an escape road at the perfect time to ruin Hamilton's qualifying lap at Monaco. And then Hamilton unnecessarily fought Rosberg in Hungary to get him to use more of his tires. And this all culminated in a collision at Belgium that led to Hamilton DNFing and Rosberg getting booed off the podium. Needless to say, their friendship had deteriorated very quickly. Hamilton must have used that anger in 2015 because there wasn't much of a fight to be had. Rosberg won 6 races, but Hamilton took the championship lead on day 1 and never relinquished it. He took 10 victories and secured the title with 3 rounds to spare. It wasn't even a contest compared to 2014. And that meant there wasn't really much drama, apart from a bullying moment at Turn 1 in Austin. And the tensions from 2014 simmered down. Well, that's what Hamilton thought. Rosberg never forgave Austin 2015, and knew that 2016 was his season to win. He began to appreciate that his intensely analytical approach could only help so much in his quest to beat the pure speed that Hamilton possessed. And his driving reflected that, as there was a noticeable shift from ensuring a solid finishing position to ensuring a chance at the win. And he became religiously focused on mentally preparing himself for the fight. He spent more time in the garage, he stopped drinking, he studied philosophy, and even shaved the paint off of his helmet to remove 50 grams of weight. And his mind must have been like a monk, because he went on a hot streak. Not only did he win the last 3 races of 2015 in a row, he won the first 4 races of 2016 in a row. Meanwhile, Hamilton had a comparatively disastrous start. I mean, yeah, he got 3 podium finishes, which in any other event wouldn't be too bad, but a 7th place in China meant that Rosberg had nearly double the points of Hamilton. And then there was Spain. Hamilton outqualified Rosberg by 0.3 of a second, but the latter got a better start and took the lead. Hamilton was trying to attack Rosberg on lap 4 when he learned the hard way that Rosberg was done letting people take advantage of his save-the-car approach. Hamilton did a super aggressive right-hand swing, and Rosberg did an equally aggressive counter, and both drivers crashed into each other, DNFing in a racing incident. Some say it was Hamilton's fault, others say it was Rosberg's, but the end result was still the same. A very angry Toto Wolff, who later said that he was on the verge of firing both of them at that moment. Their double DNF also allowed Max Verstappen to become the youngest race winner in F1 history in what must be the textbook definition of irony, given Verstappen's and Hamilton's rivalry in 2021. Now, after the Spanish disaster, one would think that the 2 drivers would be a little more careful. Nope. Rosberg straight up ran into the back of Hamilton in Austria, earning him some penalty points while also eliminating any chance of a critically needed win. And he would need every point possible because Hamilton won 5 out of the next 6 races and eroded Rosberg's lead until he was trailing by just 1 point at the end of the British Grand Prix. Hamilton then promptly won the next race and moved himself into the championship lead. A lead he would begin to extend with 3 more podiums and another win in Germany. Rosberg, meanwhile, finished 4th in Germany, costing him 13 points to Hamilton. But here's the crazy thing. After that, he would never finish off the podium for the rest of the season. In fact, he would win Belgium, Italy, Singapore, and Japan, but the most important race was the one that he didn't win. Malaysia. Initially, everything was a disaster for Rosberg when Vettel spun him out and Hamilton ran off into the lead. But then, on lap 41, Hamilton's engine decided to explode, and he retired from the lead while Rosberg recovered to 3rd. That gave him those 13 points back for the championship, plus 2 extra in interest, and overall he was in the lead once again. Hamilton, unsurprisingly, was not a happy camper with his engine's decision, and went all 2015 on Rosberg by winning 3 races in a row starting at Austin. But here's the thing, wins are only good if your rival doesn't finish second behind you every single time. You want to guess where Rosberg finished every time? Which meant, once again, everything would come down to the final race of the season in Abu Dhabi. Rosberg had a 12-point lead over Hamilton, which meant he needed third or higher no matter what to take the crown. And this led to a rather unique situation in which Rosberg had a very cautious start and Hamilton ran off into the distance. But he quickly realized that that wasn't going to work, and suddenly Hamilton's pace fell off a cliff. See, he was very clever. Rosberg's second place would crown him champion, but if Vettel and Verstappen were to, I don't know, catch up to the German, he might just fall down to fourth, giving Hamilton the crown. So Hamilton started slowing Rosberg way down. I'm talking 3 seconds a lap slower than the fastest lap of the race. And it was working. The Ferrari and the Red Bull were getting closer and closer and closer until the last lap where Vettel was right on Rosberg's bumper, with Verstappen just a further second behind. But with only 2 miles left, it didn't matter. Rosberg held on to second, and while Hamilton won the race, Rosberg won the title by 5 points. And just 2 weeks later, he retired. For Rosberg, it was his crowning achievement, proving what he needed to prove. After all of these years of being bested by Hamilton in every single season, he finally got the crown he was so desperate to get. He's the only person to win in equal machinery against Hamilton and Schumacher. In my opinion, a lot of people wrongfully dismiss Rosberg as a great driver because, yeah, he got extremely lucky with Hamilton's breakdown in Malaysia. But he still won the 2016 championship on his own merit. He fought Hamilton like a proper world champion. It's one of the best examples of mind games in Formula One history. He got underneath Hamilton's skin like nobody else has before, or maybe even since. Verstappen's a pretty close second, though. But for Hamilton and Mercedes, 2016 was a reality check. The fight had pushed the team to their limits and a little bit beyond. Toto Wolff made it his objective to never repeat that season, and notice how Rosberg's replacement, Valtteri Bottas, wasn't exactly running Hamilton off the road at Mercedes, was he? And Hamilton learned a lot from the battle as well. He won 10 races to Rosberg's 9, but lost out on the title. So he adapted and embraced elements of Rosberg's style, the greater emphasis on engineering, the intense analysis of the whole race package. He became a machine that almost never made mistakes, and won 4 titles in a row with relative ease. Even when he did have a rival like Sebastian Vettel in 2018, the difference between his driving and risk-taking between 2016 and 2018 was night and day. So think of their rivalry then as the ultimate trial by fire. Before it, Hamilton was more Ayrton Senna in the sense of pure speed and commitment. After it, he became a dominant mix of Senna and Prost's driving styles that may not have even been seen in Schumacher. After all, you don't reset the record books with just the fastest car.